Hello, it's very quiet. It is 6:30 and I am going to call to order the Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025 Cedarburg School Board meeting. This is a regular meeting of the Cedarburg School Board and is a public meeting. Prior notices have been placed in the district and additional copies were forwarded to the city and town of Cedarburg, as well as the news graphic and Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Dr. Clerk, the consent agenda.
All right, with regards to the consent agenda, board members, I ask that you approve the minutes from the regular board meeting on August 20th, 2025, the minutes from the regular board meeting on September 17th, 2025, the minutes from the budget hearing on October 20th, 2025, the budget and finance report, which includes a summary of accounts, check register, check detail, and credit card transaction reports, and the personnel report. Mr. DeRosa, Director of Human Resources, is here to provide an overview of the personnel report.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Good evening, everybody. As you can see on the report, there are no professional employees hired or resigned, but I did want to highlight Kyler Arndt. So with Paul retiring from the CPAC, some big shoes to fill. It's a very unique position to find, the right skilled candidate. And it's been great working with Lisa Shamakov, the new manager of the CPAC, and Kim, and we spent a lot of time working together on this hire, and so we're very happy to bring Kyler Arndt into the CPAC as we form that new team. Lisa and Kyler, he's going to be a great addition to the district.
Okay, well, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. Abstentions? One abstention. Okay, the vote passes 5 to 1 to 1. Thank you.
All right, superintendent's reports. Tonight we have two reports for the board. The first report is a presentation by the Webster Middle School team on the STEAM Fair. Principal Reinert is here to introduce the Webster team.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to shine a little bit of spotlight on one of our most popular activities, and that's the STEAM Fair. So with that, I'd like to call up Jody Rogan, our 8th grade science teacher, and also our lead advisor in this team.
All right, so hello. Yes, my name is Jody Rogan, and I'm here to proudly present about our Webster STEAM Fair. Our STEAM Fair is a showcase where students are able to design, create, and present a project around one or more of our STEAM disciplines. So it's more than just a science fair. They can choose anything between science, technology, engineering, art, mathematics, or they can combine all of those things. Our STEAM Fair started in about 2020, and it started with 25 virtual students. That was the time when we went into COVID, and we still wanted to do the STEAM Fair, and it was even a success during COVID. Today, 5 or 6 years later, we have anywhere between 80 and 100 students that participate. Remembering that it's all voluntary. It is not a classroom thing. So students voluntarily, grades 6 through 8, decide what they want to do. We usually have registration in December. They design and they create in January and February, and then in March they present, and that is our big STEAM Fair presentation. The whole STEAM Fair is created and organized by a group of Webster teachers. Myself, Ms. Sass, Mr. Skipper, Mrs. Oak, Ms. Rosine, Megan Moss, and then also Krista Penrod. We are all on the team, and it's all volunteer. Did I just turn it off? Oh, all right. So the first part is where students register in December and they brainstorm. And this is the beauty of it. There are very few limitations. They come and they register with their passions in mind. What do they love? What do they want to create? All we really require is that they make something, they create something. And then once they have registered, whether it's by themselves or with another person or with a group of 4, then in January and February, as a team, we give them optional time to either work after school in our makerspace or they come in during our paw times. And we do give some guidance, but a lot of it is done at home or it's done with their partners.
Hi, I'm Lene Olp. I'm the art teacher at Webster, and I'm on the committee for the STEAM Fair. So some things that students need to do is create a display. So they can do a trifold, a video, or a slideshow. This is a really great experience for the students to reflect on their project. What inspired them? What were they curious about? They're able to talk about their process, what steps they took, what did they find out, what did they learn, and so on. So this also helps them answer questions that the judges have for them during the STEAM Fair too. So it prepares them a little bit more. And then the STEAM Fair logo and t-shirts. So students create the theme and design each year. They create the design, and then the students who are involved in the STEAM Fair, they create their own shirts within the makerspace. And then the design is also used just in promotional materials. So like the pictures that you can see right there. So.
Hi, I'm Sean Skipper, and I'm the PLTW teacher at Webster, and I'm also on the committee. I'm on the committee to make the awards, and we usually have our 8th graders make the awards, and it's really neat that they get to do that because we had an opportunity to get a grant from the CEF, which we're absolutely thankful for, and to have my 8th graders be able to create the plaques for where all the awards there for the STEAM Fair really gets everyone involved. So a student that necessarily doesn't want to participate in the fair but can help make plaques, they get included into the fair as well. So those were a couple of my 8th graders last year that did some 3D printing for me and used the CNC machine from the CEF to create those. PLTW students do that, so my 8th graders, they're good. On the day of the STEAM Fair, kids load up all their items and we take over the library in the morning. And then they present to their fellow students throughout the day. They get ready for judging, which would be in the afternoon. And part of the judging where I get excited is students going above and beyond. Because it's less structure, you can ask them and see their excitement in what they've learned. So for me, when I'm giving feedback, a lot of times it's like, hey, I saw you were really excited about that. Thanks for being curious about something and a passion that you have. And when they display it in different ways, a demonstration they're doing, a trifold, it brings great joy to kind of see the variety of STEAM things that our kids are interested in. So that leads to, after the judges meet, we have our Best of Show awards, which our 8th graders created on the last slide, and also some other awards that necessarily we felt were good that we wanted to highlight in the large group, and they get usually some kind of 3D printed item, like I think Mini Mozart and Steam and Tireless Techno, so we just kind of gave some fancy names for those awards. I think what I'm going to do now is turn it over to these lovely students that have worked really hard on theirs, and they're going to talk a little bit about their projects.
Hello, my name is Ruby Phillips, and last year I had a STEAM Fair project in the science division. My STEAM Fair project was based on trying to find an eco-friendly alternative for peat-filled potting soil. I gave myself 30 days to grow Genovese basil in 2 different potting mediums, regular potting soil and coconut coir. I grew both trays in the same conditions with the same resources. I was hoping the coconut coir would do better because with peat bogs depleting, it's important that we find an alternative for peat-filled soil. Throughout the experiment, the basil and the potting soil showed more promise, but I believe that my Steam Fair project this year will change that. This year, I plan to do the same experiment, but I will be modifying the coconut coir using resources such as fertilizer and earthworm castings. I got inspiration for my project because I am part of the green team and I am a big gardener. I really enjoyed doing the Steam Fair and I can't wait to do it again. Thank you.
I'm Asher, and the rest of my group is Weston, Mason, and Chris. For the technology category, we made a video game on Scratch about a robot cleaning up pollution in different areas, which helped promote the idea of reducing pollution around the world. So my friends were wanting to do the Steam Fair with me, and then we were brainstorming and thinking of ideas when I thought of an influential idea, a robot game where the robot picks up trash in the ocean and around waterways.
The reason we chose Scratch to do a project is because it enabled us all to code, even if we didn't originally know how to code it. Scratch is block coding and it's very easy to learn.
We worked in a group because we could split up work so one person could work on the code or the other person could do research. We could also share ideas, so like if we wanted to learn about this code, you can do that. Yep. Thank you.
My name is Aiden Darcy. Last year I was in the engineering division for the Steam Fair. I knew that I wanted to do Steam Fair and that I wanted to do engineering, but I wasn't sure quite what. I made an air-powered rocket. It was the first thing that wasn't so ambitious it couldn't be accomplished, but also could actually be an entire project in its own right. I really enjoy learning practical skills such as soldering, using CAD software, and learning how to use a miter saw. My dad helped me learn all the necessary skills. If I did the project again, I would try to create the rocket out of something other than putting little 3D printed nose and fins. I also tried to increase the pressure in the launcher. I'll probably do Steam Fair next year, but transition to art and make a historically accurate diorama. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah. Hello, my name is Sarah Vila. I'm an 8th grade student at Webster Middle School, and I exhibited art for the Steam Fair twice in a row. When I first started to think about what I would enjoy doing for my project, I tried to think back to what I liked and what I do. My mind immediately went to the art and history museums, encouraging me to learn more and write about art history and different styles of art. I did a lot of research and learning about different styles for days, learning about how time and war has changed art for years and how it will continue changing. For my first year doing STEAM, I wanted to make something big and bold. My mom suggested a hull tree. It was made with birch wood from my yard and wood I found in my garage. This was not only to be bold, but also to hold my clown outfit that I made that year. That was my first time designing clothing. It helped me learn and grow in knowledge, like how I did last year and will this year. With that said, now the presentation over and is open to questions.
Go ahead, you guys. I was really excited for this presentation. Usually I look at everything ahead of the meeting, so this is the one I did not look ahead at. So my going like this was excited because I saw some faces I knew, and I want to just say I appreciate hearing from each of you because I went to the fair, but I wasn't able to talk to, it's not really the greatest thing for a grown-up to just go over and talk to a kid. It's not always really, I don't know, it's just a bit awkward sometimes. I don't want to make people feel weird, but I absolutely, saw the engagement for the video game and using Scratch. Great idea with that. Is so accessible. Serafina, you were right by my son's project, and
that photo did not do it justice, what you created for that. So really incredible. I got to see the rocket as well, so I'm really excited to see what you do with the diorama. I have no background in gardening at all, so I have things to look up when I get home. So I really appreciate the leaders of the STEAM Fair inviting students to speak so that someone like myself who went to the fair but didn't get to, hear all the details or why people choose what they do, have that opportunity too. And if anybody knows who made the piano award, let them know the little piano award is sitting on top of our piano at home. Thank you very much.
I just have to say, I am so impressed by all of your presentations and the creations that you've made. And for some of you, participating multiple years in a row, I think it's really important that there are opportunities like this to work on your passions and interest and your curiosity outside of school. My college students have lost a lot of that spark to learn and be curious and mess around with things and experiment. So please keep it up through the rest of middle school, through high school and beyond, because it will only serve you so much more as your life goes on. So kudos to you all for expanding and getting up to 80 to 100 students. That's awesome.
I think what's students, like we have where all the student body can view all their projects. And to me, that's just like brings excitement. I think see what they can do. And so every year it just keeps getting a little bit bigger when it's just kind of move on.
Well, I'm sure all of you at some point have seen someone else's project or and go, oh, I could have done that, or oh, what about trying this or doing that? And you're like, oh, maybe I could do that better, or oh, that's awesome, because that's how things are created and invented, and how we move forward in progress. So awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with everything that was just said, and especially, that you do this on your own time. You don't have to do it. And I think it was also really nice to hear about what you would do differently, because sometimes when we're creating and exploring, we have an idea, and it doesn't always work out, but that's not really a failure. You learn from it, and then you build on that. And I just want to encourage you. You guys are our future. Keep dreaming, keep exploring, and, thank you for all you do. And I would add, you're more than welcome to stay for the meeting, but we understand you have school and other things tomorrow. So if you leave, we are not offended at all. Thank you.
All right. Board members, you will see a report in Board Docs regarding the district's school safety drills for Cedarburg High School, Webster Middle School, Parkview, Thorson, and Westlawn Elementary Schools. Wisconsin Act 143 requires that this information is provided to the school board prior to January 1st of each school year. That concludes the report section.
Okay, well, there is no one signed up for public comment. Is anyone interested in speaking? All right, I will take that as no. So we will move on to the recommendation section of the meeting.
All right, the first recommendation, this evening we have 5 recommendations. The first recommendation is seeking board approval for the 2026 health insurance renewal plan as presented. This renewal plan consists of a 5% increase, or $223,423, with the components of the plan remaining unchanged from the prior year. This recommendation is being forwarded to the full board for approval by the Personnel and Finance Committee. Ms. Kim Zabel, Director of Business Services, is available to answer questions.
Oh, you want to give it back to her? For my I'll just leave it up and make sure. Okay. Sorry,
I think so.
I thought one of them took it with them. It's slick.
Okay, well, I will entertain a motion to take action regarding the 2026 health insurance renewal.
I would make a motion to approve the 2026 health insurance renewal. I will second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, with that, All in favor of taking action regarding or approving the 2026 health insurance renewal plan? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
All right, the next recommendation is seeking board approval for the 2026 dental insurance renewal plan as presented. This renewal plan consists of a 2% increase, or $2,758, with the components of the plan remaining unchanged from the prior year. This recommendation is being forwarded to the full board for approval by the Personnel and Finance Committee. Ms. Savo is available to answer questions.
All right, do I have a motion to take action regarding or approve the 2026 dental insurance renewal plan?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 2026 dental insurance renewal plan. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
The next recommendation is seeking board approval for the adoption of the 2025-26 original budget as presented. This budget was discussed this past Monday at the budget hearing. Kim is available to answer questions.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the 25-26 original budget.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Do we have a roll call for this one?
Sure.
Thank you.
Do we have discussion? All right, let's have discussion. I will take a roll call regarding I guess I have discussion. I just want to say, as we mentioned Monday, it's really a long, detailed process to work on this budget. It's a very important goal to the district to have a balanced budget, and we applaud Kim Zabel and all those who have worked so hard to get to this point. So thank you. Any other discussion?
I just had one other thing. If there's ever, just as a personal request, I'm always interested if any board member votes against something to know why that would be. So there's always interesting to hear in that discussion, period. So just that. And thank you again for the board, for the presentation on the budget on Monday. We didn't have a very big audience, but it was an excellent presentation. It's in board docs. There's a packet that goes into everything in detail, and then you're just continuing to do a good job with that, Kim. So thank you. Thank you.
The presentation was added, yeah, Kim? So the budget hearing presentation was added as well that night. Yeah, great. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'll take a roll call vote. Dr. Sabaji.
Aye.
Elizabeth Sharland.
Aye.
Kate Netzel.
Aye.
Laura Strobel. Aye. Kate Erickson. Me. Connie Kincaid. Aye. Paul Demchak.
Aye.
All right, the 2025-26 original budget passes 5-0.
All right, the next recommendation is for the board to approve the 2025-26 tax levy certification of $27,803,483, which is comprised of a tax for the general and non-referendum funds in the amount of $20,840,600, a tax referendum approved debt retirement in the amount of $6,627,883, and a tax for the community service fund of $335,000. The proposed tax levy rate for the 2025-26 school year is $6.25, which is a decrease of 25 cents from the 2024-25 tax levy rate. Again, Kim is available for any questions.
All right, otherwise I'll entertain a motion regarding the 25-26 tax levy certification.
So moved.
I'll make the motion to approve. We have one
She
motion.
did.
So I'll make a motion.
Paul did.
Oh, sorry, I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Kim, is it anticipated that this will go back up for our next year? Are you looking at those numbers yet? I know the presentation from Monday, I know our packet from Monday as well as the presentation goes into this event, but I'm just curious looking ahead if we're anticipating similar numbers or kind of going back up to where we were.
It's hard to tell at this point. As we talked about on Monday, a large factor in the tax levy rate for next year is this year's spending and enrollment in all the districts across the state of Wisconsin. And so that will start to be estimated in the winter, but I don't know, we have a pretty good estimate in July, and then again, we don't know the exact number until October. Other pieces of that are other vouchers that will be added next year, things that we don't really know until exactly a year from now. We don't get any type of prediction on that.
Right.
So I'm not comfortable making an estimate on whether it will go up or down at this point.
Do you recall that our voucher numbers were similar? I believe it was around 700,000 this year. Was it similar last year?
It's up to 20% this year.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
And there's, best guess right now, you're not sure, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. It's actually something I thought about while we were going through these, but at this point in time, there's not really a best guess as to whether that amount will stay stable or continue to increase. That voucher amount?
The voucher, yeah. I would assume it would continue to increase.
Okay, that's helpful to know in considering that. Thank you.
That is a small, so our total levy is 20 million.
I understand. Yeah.
And just so the general public's aware, the school board really doesn't determine if the levy goes up or down. It's all based off of outside formulas and outside amounts.
There are certain pieces of it that we do look at each year.
All right, any further discussion? All right, well, I will take the vote regarding the approving the 25-26 tax levy certification. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The vote passes 7-0. Thank you.
All right, the next recommendation is a package deal coming from the Policy Committee. The Policy Committee has forwarded the 31 policy updates that you have in your packet. We are seeking a recommendation from the board for approval of the updates.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the policy updates.
I'll make a motion to approve the policies as presented with the exception of PO 8500 and PO 8531.
I would second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the policy updates with the exception of 8531.
Correct.
85, what was your other one, Connie?
8500
Okay.
and 8531.
Okay, let me restate that. To approve the policy updates with the exception of policy 8500 and 8531. Any discussion on that?
Sure, I'll just quickly share that for 8500, there was a change proposed by a committee member that was not noticed prior to that committee meeting, and a rationale given in relation to policy 8531. After that meeting, I did reach out to have a question asked from Neola, and I do not have an answer back from that yet. So I would appreciate just these two going back to committee once our Neola rep can answer that question, get it back. I don't see that the suggested change that went through the committee is anything that is needed right now. So I would appreciate fellow board members allowing those two to go back to committee to have those questions asked and answered appropriately.
I have some additional discussion on that one. So I'm on that committee and I made the suggestion that's being discussed now. So that was related to 8500 food services. I take issue with the statement that it wasn't noticed to the public. The list of policies that the policy committee reviews and discusses in that meeting is just that, a list of policies that the committee can make edits to. It's within the board's responsibilities, and it's really one of the key responsibilities of the school board to define and approve board policy. And at no point is the policy committee or the board at large required to only make edits that Neola is suggesting or the administration is suggesting? We can discuss, edits in the policies that were noted. So both of those were in that agenda. And the suggestion I had is a very small one. At the bottom of these food service related policies is a non-discrimination statement. And that's because these have to do with the USDA. And it was just aligning the non-discrimination statement for policy 8500 to the existing non-discrimination statements in 8531, free and reduced meals, 8540, vending machines, and 8550, competitive food sales. So all four policies have this USDA related non-discrimination statement, and we had one outlier, being the food services 8500, that just wasn't lined up exactly wording wise. And my suggestion in the meeting was to make them all aligned. And my suggestion also would then bring this one into alignment with the USDA non-discrimination statement that they have on their website. So I would be approving personally all of the policies that we have on this agenda item.
To say that those items were noticed properly in the policies is disingenuous. When our policies go out to the community, the language that we are looking at modifying is always highlighted. These were not highlighted areas. Therefore, the public was not alerted that these things could be changed, as these are not policies that actively drive the functioning of the school. I see no reason why we can't table these to get proper response from Neola, as these were not Neola suggested changes, and then bring them back to the full board after they've been adequately looked at.
So Neola is there to suggest policy changes based on their best practices and legal updates that are made, but we are by no means bound to only make changes to wording that Neola makes. That just simply isn't the case. And by listing these policies on the policy committee agenda, we are able, as board members, to discuss any edits to those policies, and whether we come to an agreement and move those forward to this meeting or not, it's up to the committee. But it's not, I disagree with the fact that we can only discuss those red or green highlighted items. Furthermore, for this full board meeting, the suggestion that I recommended is highlighted there. So if you open up the packet of the policies that are up for vote today, you can see the red, highlighted, cross through, strike through, through the words that I'm recommending striking through to bring policy 8500 into alignment with the other three related food service policies.
So what was the question that you asked Neola that you haven't received a response on?
Is that appropriate to share, Jerry?
Yeah.
Yep. So first of all, I want to take a moment to just say that we're not going to have agreement on whether it is the best practice of a committee member, because a reminder, when you're at those committee meetings, you're a committee member, you're not at the full board, at the full board table. As a committee member, the practice has been, prior to this last session, is if something is highlighted, that is giving a heads up to the community that this is being discussed, these are changes. That's been the practice. So we're not really going to have agreement on whether it was approached in the best and most transparent way. I'm not looking to argue that back and forth, and I did not mention who made what suggestion. Those meetings are not recorded, they're not streamed, there's not detailed minutes. I would appreciate at this table people taking a step back and acknowledging that I'm doing my best to be respectful of our time, as well as respectful of the policies themselves, respectful of Neola's answers to questions that I had, And my question really has to do with if a committee member is suggesting removing language, is it appropriate to add language to policies? That's it. It's not a long, drawn-out question. If individuals want to go back into these policies and look at the language that's stricken, I'm not using the proper phrase of that, but the language that's has a strike through it references a different board policy, and that board policy still includes the language that a committee member would like removed from policy 8500. I fully understand the rationale that was offered. I disagree with that rationale, and I was hoping for Neola's perspective on that. That's it. Again, I'm not really, we're not going to come to the same place of believing that it was done in the most transparent way possible.
So is it your opinion then that as a school board, we can only edit policies in ways that Neola would suggest that we update policies?
Would you mind repeating your question?
Is it your opinion that as a school board, we can only edit policies in ways that Neola suggests that we update policies?
I don't think necessarily. I think for this particular one, it's a sensitive topic and it matters to members of our community, and striking language that is of a sensitive nature, especially when not everyone in the community knows how to navigate our policies, I think should take extra time and not just be brought at a committee meeting as one individual's view. I recognize it was then approved to move forward here by the other members of that committee, but I'm not of the opinion that that was the best way to go about it.
So how would a board member go about it?
I wasn't finished. If you would like to have a conversation at the table, I am not interested in being interrupted. I would ask that our board president remind individuals of decorum at this table.
We are aware of the decorum. Continue, please, Connie.
I believe I've made my views clear at this point in time that the process by which this was done was not as helpful as it could be. I believe I've made it clear that I have respectfully listened to our committee members, and in disagreeing, asked questions that have not yet been answered, and I would like the answers to those questions prior to these policies just getting approved.
Can I add something, or?
Certainly.
Okay. I am not currently on the policy committee, but I was on the policy committee for 3 years, and there have been instances where policies were up for review, and sometimes a suggested change really affected what we felt as a policy committee, other areas of that policy. So we did change parts of policies that were not either highlighted or marked for removal. So, and I did have a conversation with Dr. Clark on this, and I guess going forward, really when a policy is up before the policy committee, that entire policy is up for the committee to review. We can't just limit it to the red and the green marks on there. And also, I do want to remind everyone that we do use Neola as a base for our policies, but they are Cedarburg's policy, the Cedarburg School District policies. You know, it's not like we are just bound to what Neola says, yes or no. They're a guide, and that's what we use. And obviously, we want them to be. We want to make sure that we're legal in all that we do, but they are our policies, and I think that's why we do have the policy committee to review everything, to conform them to our district.
And on a related note, another reason why I personally support approving the policies that were taken to this meeting in whole is that this isn't the only edit to this policy. There were a number of edits that Neola did suggest to this policy, especially related to IEPs, 504 plans, medical issues that they felt were important to have updated here, and to say that we're not going to approve it. For that reason, we'll be leaving this important information out of the policy. So that's just another reason that I plan on voting for all of the policies to be approved.
Could you please clarify, are you speaking about the two policies that I am asking to be brought back to committee, or are you speaking about policies that I have offered as approving?
Yeah, the two policies, 8500 food services and 8531 free and reduced meals. There was quite a bit added, suggested by Neola at that meeting beyond the non-discrimination statement that we have been focused on.
Gotcha. So I believe you had a question previously as to how someone would go about making changes at the board table. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point in time, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion has occurred. There's not really an option to go back and amend the language for these policies, because the motion I made was to bring it back to committee. So from my perspective, in what we could do is, and I'm trying to go out of my way to be respectful of everybody's time, which is why I made the motion I did. But if that motion fails, what could happen is going policy by policy, taking a motion, a second, offering an amendment to the policy, and then voting on that particular policy with a proposed amendment from a member at the table. That will take a while. I am, from my perspective, offering an alternate solution that still affords the opportunity to make those potential amendments after hearing from Neola, which we do contract with, and take their opinion up from, or take their perspective. I hear what you're saying and what you brought up. Board Member Charland, regarding students and IEPs and all of that. This particular set of policies wouldn't impact those areas. It is really the non-discrimination portion that I don't think is appropriate to just change at this point in time the way it was proposed to be changed.
As I was at that meeting as well, I guess at this point I don't support pulling out those two policies, mainly because the recommendation does not give to or take away anything from the discrimination statement.
It does, though. Kate, that's part of the issue. I apologize for interrupting you. Please continue.
Can you explain to me what right would be taken away?
I think the committee member that made the proposed change can explain that.
Can't explain a right being taken away.
Would you mind sharing what portion you recommended being removed?
Sure. So in the policy, it says, so we have this non-discrimination statement. It says, in accordance with federal civil rights law and U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA civil rights regulations and policies, this institution is prohibited from discriminating on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, and then the part that I recommended removing to align this policy with the other three food service related policies is after the word sex, it has parentheses, including gender identity and sexual orientation. And then it goes on, disability, age, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity. So just to clarify, the other three food service related policies that we already have are written exactly as I am suggesting, that it just says national origin, sex, disability, age, or reprisal. Additionally, from the USDA themselves, their non-discrimination statement includes, institutions participating or administering
USDA programs are prohibited from discriminating based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, age. It goes on. So again, just having the word sex instead of the phrase sex, including gender identity and sexual orientation, aligns this policy with our other 3 policies related to this, as well as the USDA policy. In addition to that, the Neola rep who attended this meeting when we discussed this did not say, hey, stop, don't do that. I understand you're waiting for feedback from him. When I explained this rationale to the committee, everyone seemed to make sense to everybody. It seemed to make sense to the Neola guy. I won't speak on his behalf, but he didn't say, whoa, don't do that. Neola wouldn't recommend that. That's it. With that, I didn't ask the question, so I'd like to just make sure that the question that was asked was answered.
It has been answered. There are no rights that are being taken away by changing the language.
And I think that is, it sounds like that's at this point a majority opinion of the board, but it's not my opinion, and it's not the opinion of others that have reached out since that meeting. And my question to Neola was, and is there an issue with adding language to those policies? The rationale thus far is that let's get these aligned to these other policies. What about the other thought of aligning it so that it does include the language that one committee member and members of the policy committee are looking to remove and to strike? That language is still in a policy that's referenced 48500. So from my perspective, because we are looking at policies that are Cedarburg specific, and we are thinking through what is helpful for our students and for families, I actually believe leaving that language in is more protective than not. So once again, the point I was attempting to make at the start of this was allowing time for the questions that I had to be answered in a way that everyone has their questions asked and answered. I hear that our board president has shared moving forward our policies when there's a policy committee meeting and the policies are noticed, that committee members can talk about any part of that policy. I hope there's an understanding at this table that that hasn't been the practice. So expecting an individual who serves as an alternate, who's incredibly passionate about policies, but serves as an alternate and does not get a vote, would be expected to go into a meeting with the thought process that another committee member is planning to remove language that is not an admin recommendation, it's not a Neola recommendation, and having, a response right then is not fair. So, once again, there's a motion, there's a second, we've had discussion, there's an ask on how would this be done at the board table differently. I have shared how it would be done from a procedural perspective differently. That's it. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I'm not in favor of how this was handled for this last policy committee meeting. And it would be nice if my views were respected and taken seriously, and these 2 policies just went back to committee, got those answers, and could bring it back to the board. Thank you.
Before you move to a vote on the motions, I just have to say how disappointed I am that any protective language would be removed. That serves no one. Under the guise of falling in line with a federal agency. Lots of federal agencies have lots of different non-discrimination policies. They are not all the same. Just because they have that policy, it doesn't mean that we only have to have what they have.
if you're looking at the Neola question that was prompted earlier, do we have to follow and do what Neola says because Neola said no? Do we have to have the same exact policy as this federal department? No. We can have the non-discrimination language that they include, plus making a point to include language so that our students feel protected. Whereas using the guise of falling under USDA non-discrimination to remove that language is abhorrent, in my opinion. We have a lot of students in our district throughout the years who have been extremely disappointed in protective languages being removed. There's no harm in leaving them in, and there's no harm in expanding that language into other non-discrimination policies as well throughout the district, whether it be board policy, administrator policy, what have you.
I guess I just want to be clear that making a change to this language does not change the legal basis of what is protected and what is not. Am I correct on that, Dr. Clark?
You are correct.
So therefore, leaving it in isn't an issue either, is it? If it's specifically spelled out that these things are protected as well, there's no issue in leaving it, correct?
The language and what the district would have to do based on federal requirements does not change.
All right, any further discussion? So I want to double check. The motion is to approve all the policies except for policy 8500 and 8531. Those would go back to committee.
Okay, that going back to committee is part of the vote or the motion?
The original motion did not include that word.
Right. Okay.
I'm fine with accepting a friendly amendment to move it to a set date.
So are we good on adding that language to bring back to committee, or should we just leave the vote for the?
If the two agree, they can be moved to.
I agree. To add the bring back to committee. Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure we're doing it properly. Thank you, Laura. Oh, thank you. And I'm just going to add, I know we're 7 members here and everyone, it's good to have discussion. We may not all agree, but thank you all for just the discussion, and we always should and do respect one another. So with that, don't worry about that, I'll get that after. All those in favor of approving the policy updates with removing 8500 and 8531 and bringing it back to committee, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Aye or nay. Abstentions? Okay, the amendment fails 2-5. The motion. One of these days I'll get all this wording down. Okay, so I'll make a motion to vote on each policy individually.
I will second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to vote on each policy individually. Any discussion on that? There was a question asked earlier as to how someone would go about making a change at the board table. This is how you would go about that process.
That wasn't my question. My question was about how you, excuse me?
No, go ahead.
No, my question was about if you don't think it's appropriate for a policy committee member to suggest edits to a policy beyond what Neola or the administration is recommending. How would you suggest a board member do that? It was not about making edits to policies at this meeting. But that can be rhetorical or not.
I did not take your question as rhetorical, or I would not have offered this as a motion.
It wasn't at the beginning, but I feel like in the honor of respecting people's time, we can move on with the motion at hand.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to vote on each policy individually. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? That motion fails 2-5.
I motion approving the policy updates as presented
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the policy updates as presented. Any discussion?
I just want the community to be aware that this language being removed is not required. It was not directed, and there's absolutely no harm in leaving it in. This is under the request of one board member.
All right, discussion, Connie?
I think it's unfortunate, and I don't think it helps our students, and that's what we should all be here for. Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the policy updates as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion to approve the policy updates as presented passes 5-2-0. Thank you.
All right, the last recommendation this evening is for the acceptance of donations to the district. This month, there are two donations. $32,733.09 from the Cedarburg Athletic Booster Club to be used to support the Cedarburg High School athletic program, and $5,130 from the Cedarburg Blue Line Club to be used to support the Cedarburg High School boys hockey program. If approved, the total donation for October will be $37,863.09, and the total board-approved donations to date for the 25-26 school year will be $385,105.59.
Okay, I will take a motion to approve the donations that are presented here.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Thank you. I'm just going to put you, Kim, on the spot. Could you repeat what you said Monday about the total donations for the last school year as a whole? Because it's really an amazing total.
I think Brenda, that's the total that we have for all funds for 21 was $1 million. I think what we include all other funds is probably very near a lot of them.
Okay, I just want to publicly thank the entire community for their generosity.
I don't know if anyone would have heard Kim from over there, so it's right around $1 million, right, Kim?
Thank you. All right, any further discussion? All right, with that, I will take a vote to approve the donations as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That vote passes 7-0. Thank you.
That concludes the recommendations for this evening.
All right, we are moving to our last section of the meeting, where we have our committee, delegate, representative, and liaison reports, and there's a lot of them. So, Dr. Savaji, can you start with the Building and Grounds Committee meeting?
Of course. Building and Grounds Committee met on September 24th. We received updates about work done on the CSD grounds during the summer, including completion of the phrase mowing project on the softball and soccer fields, playground landscaping at Thorson and Parkview, complete signage refresh in the CHS parking lots. In Webster, there were LED light replacements, so there's no more dark corridors. Plastic wall protectors were installed in 6 classrooms at CHS to prevent damage to the drywall. And bleachers in the CHS pool area were refreshed, improving functionality and safety. We discussed the district school safety plan, which is presented annually to the board for review. We heard that we're still waiting for a third quote on the CHS air handling unit replacement project, but that'll be moving forward soon. And finally, Rick has reached out to multiple firms for quotes on performing a facility study, which will help the district plan for and prioritize future maintenance costs. The next B&G committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, December 4th, 2025.
Thank you. And Elizabeth, would you be willing, or are you prepared to present in the curriculum committee meeting?
I am prepared.
All right.
So we met October 1st. It's a pretty full meeting. We first discussed a proposal proposal from the Global Scholars Program at the high school for a summer 2027 trip to Japan that will come back to committee next month. We then discussed updates on the required half-credit personal finance course that will start fall of next year at the high school in accordance with Wisconsin Act 60. So it's a required course, and that's going to be falling under the Social Studies Department. And there will be 2 course options to choose from for students, and the next steps will include further discussion on scope and sequence, as well as selecting a textbook. We then discussed with the English department an update on getting a bank of books for long reads. So by that we mean like novels or plays for 9th through 11th grades. They adopted a new English curriculum this year, HMH into literature, and they want to have a bank of books that they could incorporate in their 4 units that they do each year, and those books will come back to committee next month. And then finally, some additions and deletions in the high school course offerings. So addition, it's they're going to be replacing the business capstone course, which is a current course, with an AP business with personal finance course. And then we discussed some deletions. Most of these were due to low numbers for the courses. So those were Algebra 2, and that's just aligning algebra with the other math courses at the high school. It's not going to be that they won't learn Algebra 2. It's just going to be an accelerated algebra or an honors algebra. British literature, that course has never been run. A social studies course called 20th Century Conflicts that only ran 1 time in the last 4 years. The semester-long social psychology course, that one has gone from 2 sections down to 1 in this past year, and they really need some, to free up some availability to do that personal finance course. There is the AP Psych course that will still be available. And then 2 more, Advanced Autodesk Inventor, that hasn't run in the last 3 years, and then a computer science course on app development that only had a handful of students enrolled. And we have a date change. Our next meeting will be November 12th.
All right, thank you. And Kate Netzel, I'm going to ask you to double up and give an update on both the policy committee meeting and the personal and finance committee meeting.
Okay, so the policy committee meeting, we met on October 8th, 2025. And in addition to nominating a new chair, we also had all of the policy updates that we did have some extensive discussion on this evening. And they were all listed in board docs as well. And then if I could just move on to the P&F committee meeting, we met on 10/16 and had a number of agenda items. First was an update on the 24-25 budget, and this is in the process of being audited. And that will be, a recap of that will be provided, I think, close to January. The next item on the agenda was the 2026 health insurance renewal and dental insurance renewal that we did vote on tonight. In addition to that, we also discussed the 25-26 original budget and the tax levy for 25-26. And then we had an informational topic about a van lease. I believe it was the special education van that is maturing and up for renewal. And we are going to be re-upping that lease for another 36 months. And then also some information about the Webster Middle School food service line project. It's currently out to bid, and the proposed project will be funded by the food service fund balance, and it looks like some kind of exciting updates in the food serving line coming to Webster. Proposals will be back at the end of October. Our next meeting for personnel and finance will be on January 7th. And I just wanted to add that public is always welcome at these committee meetings, so please feel free to join us at any time.
Thank you. And Connie Kincaid is our WASB delegate report. WASB stands for Wisconsin Association for School Boards. And Connie, can you please give us an update or report on your doings with the as a delegate?
Sure, Laura. Every board member has a one pager that was left underneath their agenda that just has some kind of quick updates. This one pager is also given to Brenda, so it will be available in board docs when she has the time to upload that. I know it's super exciting for everybody, but so there were a handful of things that I just wanted to kind of share with the board. In September, I was asked to participate in an interview for School News Magazine. That goes out to all of the board members in Wisconsin. I had asked WASB just some kind of feedback from members was that it wasn't always easy to access articles from school news unless you had to log in. And I'm happy to see that they made a change where a lot of the articles are now easier to access, whether you're a board member or not. You can go back and look at those. So I thought I find that exciting. I hope other people do as well, that they're open to input on that front. Throughout the past couple years, I've been working as diligently as possible on professional development. Our district has, we pay for WASB membership, which includes many trainings and options that are included in that membership. All of those options that were included in our membership that we didn't have to pay extra for, I have completed all of those. There was another set that was released in July, so my goal is to get those completed by the end of this year. There's 5 levels of recognition that WASB offers, and I did receive a level 3, which whether you're on the board for 3 years or 30, the highest level you can get is 5. So, you know, I take it really seriously that I'm the delegate for our district. I want to be very aware of what's going on all throughout our state. And in saying that, I did also submit my name for the region director position for WASB for our region, Region 15. I was not elected, but I have great conversations with our, let's see, he was our appointed, and now he's our newly elected region director. So, you know, again, just a kind of a quick update. My hope in putting my name out there was to be able to say I have done as much as I could do in this role that's been afforded to me to serve in. And yeah, I think I mentioned the end of year goals was to finish those trainings that were opened up in July, and then also attend the legislative conference on November 8th in Stevens Point. And if any other board members are interested in going to that, I have seats in my car. I'm happy to travel with anyone as long as we notice a quorum if we have a quorum. So, thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations on your level 3 award. We know you put a lot of time into that, so thank you. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
Ooh, that's a have that.
Seconds.
Contest. On the ends. All right, a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.